Hello guys, welcome back to Alec Motion Studio. I hope you all are well. Today we are study class 11 Chains 2. We're not afraid to die if we can all be together. Writer named Gordon Cook and Elon E. Paragraph 1. In July 1976, my wife Mary, son Jonathan, 6, daughter Suzanne, 7, and I set sail from Plymouth, England, to duplicate the round-the-world voyage made 200 years earlier by Captain James Cook. Right finger. In July 1976. The narrator, his wife Mary, and their two kids Jonathan, 6 years old, and Suzanne, 7 years old, started a sea journey from Plymouth, England. They wanted to travel around the world just like Captain. Paragraph 2. For the longest time, Mary and I had dreamt of this, and for the past 16 years, we had spent all our leisure time honing our seafaring skills in British waters. Right finger. The narrator and his wife Mary had dreamed about this trip for many years. For 16 years, they practiced sailing in the seas around Britain. Paragraph 3. Our boat Wavewalker, a 23 meters, 30-ton wooden-hulled beauty, had been professionally built. We had spent months fitting it out and testing it in the roughest weather we could find. Right finger. Their boat was called Wavewalker. It was 23 meters long and very strong, built of wood. They prepared it carefully and tested it in very bad weather. Paragraph 4. The first leg of our planned 3-year, 105,000 kilometers journey passed pleasantly as we sailed down the west coast of Africa to Cape Town. Right finger. Their world trip was planned for 3 years, covering 105,000 kilometers. The first part of the trip, from England to Cape Town, South Africa. Paragraph 5. There, before heading east, we took on 2 crewmen, American Larry Vigil and Swiss Herb Seigler, to help us tackle one of the world's roughest seas, the Southern Indian Ocean. Right finger. At Cape Town, they hired 2 more crew members, Larry from America and Herb from Switzerland, to help because the Indian Ocean. Paragraph 6. On our second day out of Cape Town, we began to encounter strong gales. For the next few weeks they blew continuously. Gales did not worry me, but the size of the waves was alarming, up to 15 meters, as high as our main mast. Right finger. On the second day after leaving Cape Town, very strong winds, gales, started. These winds continued for weeks. The narrator wasn't afraid of the wind, but the waves were very huge, almost 15 meters. Paragraph 7. December 25th found us 3,500 kilometers east of Cape Town. Despite the bad weather, we had a wonderful holiday complete with a Christmas tree. Right finger. On December 25th, Christmas Day, they were 3,500 kilometers away from Cape Town. Even though the weather was rough, they celebrated Christmas. Paragraph 8. New Year's Day saw no improvement in the weather, but we reasoned that it had to change soon. And it did change, for the worse. Right finger. On New Year's Day, January 1st, the weather was still bad. They thought it would get better soon, but instead it became worse. Paragraph 9. At dawn on January 2nd, the waves were gigantic. We were sailing with only a small storm jib, and were still making 8 knots. As the ship rose to the top of each wave we could see endless huge seas rolling towards us, and the screaming of the wind and spray was painful. On January 2nd, early morning, the waves became extremely big. They were sailing only with a small sail, storm jib. But the boat was still moving fast. From the top of each wave, they could see many more huge waves coming. The wind was blowing so strongly it hurt. Paragraph 10. The first indication of impending disaster came at about 6 p.m., with an ominous silence. The wind dropped, and the sky immediately grew dark. Then a loud roar, and a tremendous explosion shook the deck. Right finger. At 6 in the evening, they felt something bad was going to happen. Suddenly the wind stopped, the sky became dark, then a loud sound came. Paragraph 11. Right finger. A huge wave covered the boat with green and white water. The narrator's head hit the steering wheel and he was thrown into the sea. He went underwater, felt like fainting, his head was in pain, and he thought he was going to die. Then he became Paragraph 12. When I came to, I was hanging onto the wheel, my head was swollen and my eyes hurt. The Wavewalker was near capsizing, her masts almost horizontal. A wave had swept overboard the starboard side. Water lay everywhere. Right finger. When he woke up, he found himself still holding the wheel. His head was badly hurt, eyes were paining, and the boat was almost turning upside down. Paragraph 13. Mary appeared at the wheel. "We're sinking," she screamed. The decks were smashed. Water gushed below. Right Finger his wife Mary came and shouted, "We're sinking." Because the boat's deck was broken and water was rushing. Paragraph 14. I half swam, half crawled into the children's cabin. "Are you all right?" I asked. "Yes," they answered. Jonathan said, "Daddy, we aren't afraid of dying if we can all be together, you and Mummy, Sue and I." Right Finger the narrator somehow reached the children's cabin and asked if they were okay. Both children said yes. Then little Jonathan said bravely, "Daddy, we are not afraid of dying." Paragraph 15. That evening, around 6 p.m., I found that the hand pumps had been smashed. The electric pump short-circuited. But luckily, one small hand pump worked, so we all started pumping water out desperately. Right Finger by evening, he saw that the main pumps were broken. The electric pump was also not working. Only one small pump worked, so everyone in the family kept pumping water. Paragraph 16. Sue had a deep cut on her arm. She made no complaint. Her eyes were swollen and she was in pain. But she said, "Daddy, it's okay. I don't want to worry you when you are trying to save us all." Right Finger his daughter Suzanne, Sue, was badly injured with a cut on her arm and swollen eyes. But she didn't cry or complain. She stayed brave and told her father she didn't want to trouble him. Paragraph 17. For 36 hours continuously, all of us, Mary, I, Sue, John, and the 2 crewmen, worked the pumps to keep the water level under control. By the morning of January 3rd, the situation was desperate. We were still pumping, steering, working the radio, but no help came. Right Finger for 1.5 days, everyone kept pumping water non-stop. They were all extremely tired, but still trying to keep the boat afloat. By January 3rd, things were very bad. Paragraph 18. The Wavewalker was badly damaged. I had to repair the starboard side to prevent it from sinking. I lined the canvas and spread heavy ropes across the hull to cover the cracks. Right Finger the boat was broken badly on one side. The narrator tried to fix it by putting canvas and ropes to cover the cracks, so what? Paragraph 19. On January 4th, after 2 days of struggle, the water inside the boat was under control. But the boat was very weak and could sink at any time. Right Finger by January 4th, after fighting hard for 2 days, they managed to reduce the water inside. But the boat was still badly damaged. Paragraph 20. We had only a small amount of food left. We had been surviving on bread, biscuits, and canned meat. The children were very brave. Jonathan said, "Daddy, you must rest. You're trying to do too much." Right Finger their food was very less. They were living on bread, biscuits, and tinned meat. The children didn't complain and stayed brave. Jonathan even. Paragraph 21. On January 5th, we somehow reached near Amsterdam Island, a tiny piece of land in the Indian Ocean. I had calculated our position by working on charts and maps. Right Finger on January 5th, after all the struggle, the narrator's calculation on maps showed they were near a small island called Amsterdam Island. Paragraph 22. On January 6th, we saw land. It was the island. All of us cried with relief. We had survived. Right Finger finally, on January 6th, they saw the island. Everyone was full of joy and cried with relief. They were safe after. Checkmark main message of the chapter. The story shows courage, determination, teamwork, and the power of family love. The children's bravery gave the parents strength. Even in the face of death, they did not Thanks for watching the video, subscribe for next part.